Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. Today we're going to see how transforms work in Manifold. In particular, we're also going to learn something about how to use expressions in transforms. And to do all this, we're going to use the free Manifold viewer so that anybody watching this video can follow along for free. You can download the Manifold viewer for free from the Manifold website. There's no strings attached. And the project that we're going to use, the project we're going to transform, is the same one we used for a previous video where we were hunting Neolithic relics in France. And let's open that database. And by the way, we're looking at Manifold Viewer here, and we're looking at it in Windows 11. And all this works in Manifold Release 9 exactly the same way. So let's click File, Open. And here let's open this MXB file, which is a Manifold project, in compressed form. Click Open. Viewer instantly decompresses the project, and you can see it has all that data in it. MXB files are a compressed form of Manifold map project files that are very convenient for sharing large data over the web, because they can compress the data, to a great degree. Let's pop up in the table, and you can see here's the table that we were working with. This table was created by a hobbyist, and it has a collection of many. Let's see how many. It has 8,701 records in it, which are various types of Neolithic objects in France. For example, things like dolmen. Now, what we did in the previous project is we picked out all the records that were dolmen. And we created this other table called dolmen table. And you can see here's that dolmen table. That's where it works. And then we did is we added a geom field to that, and we created a drawing. Here's the dolmen drawing, and that shows the locations of all these different dolmen around France. And what's a dolmen, you ask? Well, using the magic of viewer, we can take a look at a photograph. We can import a photo. Let's import this one and that one. I'm control clicking both of them. We can import more than one image at a time. And let's pop open these images to see what they are. Here's a small dolmen. That's what a dolmen looks like. It's a stone structure that was created about 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. This particular one is about 5,000 years old. And it's on the road from Chartres to Tours. It's about chest high, so this cap rock is several tons. At the top, it's about 2 meters by 3 meters. And it's off a little roadside rest area just off a road in France. This is a smaller dolmen, but it's in great shape. A big dolmen, let's click open the, oops, that's the big dolmen table. Here it is, a big dolmen image. That's what a big dolmen looks like. And this big dolmen, you can actually, is so big that you can actually walk under the capstone here. It's so high that most people can walk under here without bending over. As you get farther into it, you have to bend over. And these cap rocks are absolutely enormous. They weigh dozens and dozens of tons each, and they were brought here on rollers from over 150 kilometers away, and all that was done about 5,000 years ago. So that's what a big dolmen looks like. And we were using the database to hunt dolmens, and in the prior video what we did is we created a map based on that drawing, and here's the map. And then what we did is we extracted from the dolmen all the larger ones that have a ranking of 5, and we put them on the map. Here we create another drawing called Big Dolmen. I'm going to get rid of that by right-clicking on this, and then off screen from the context menu choose Delete from Map. So because we're just going to work with the dolmen table, and we're going to modify the dolmen table here. I'm also going to close this table here. You can see that whenever I click on something, it brings that to the foreground, the tab. So let's close that tab. And here in the dolmen table, the way the hobbyist did this, organized this table, who organized this, which is a wonderful thing. I mean, he collected almost 9,000 of these objects throughout all France. But the way he coded the interest level is by attaching a number here in the name field. And the name field is just a text field. It's a variable character length field. He added a number from 0 to 5. And this is just a GPS ID that he used. And by adding that number, he decided to combine the value of something with the name of it, the GPS ID of it. That's actually not a particularly good way to structure a database, and if you know databases, you know that what he should have done is he should have taken the ranking for the dolmen, with the 0 for one that's basically a broken pile of rocks, and 5 for an outstanding one like that big dolmen that we saw in the picture. He should have had a separate field called a rank field, and that rank field shouldn't be a text field. If it's a numeric quantity from 0 to 5, that shouldn't be in here, mixed in with text. It should be out there as a number. So we're going to fix that. We're going to add a rank field to this database, to this table, which is a numeric field, and then we're going to grab the last digit from here, and we're going to put that into the ranking field, and we're also going to convert the type from being a text type to an integer on the fly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add that rank field. Click field. Edit schema to open the schema, and then we're going to click rank, and we're going to enter rank as the name of the field. We'll leave it as type N32. There's a lot of different types that we can have, but we'll leave it as type N32. Click OK. And here in the schema dialog, we're going to click Save Changes, and that's going to change the table schema to add this rank field, which, as we can see by hovering the mouse over it, tells us it's an N32 field. Okay, that's super. So now we're going to populate that, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the transform pane with an expression. So the first thing, let's learn how to use expressions. So I'm going to click here, and you can see when I click on the tabs here, it chooses whichever pane we want to work with, and using view panes, we can turn all the different panes on and off. So I want to use the transform pane, and I want to use that for the Dolman table, and I want to use the name field out of that Dolman table, because first let's do some transforms within this text field. I'm going to use the preview capability of Manifold so we can see how transforms operate when you use the expression. And with the expression template allows us to write an expression here that's going to be evaluated, which could be put into a new field or put into the same field. And so the first thing I'm going to click Edit Expression so I can use the query builder to build that expression. And I'm going to use the string substring function. And if you can't remember what these things are, substring, you can use the filter box. For example, here, string substring, and that has two arguments: the string that we're working with, which in this case is the name string, and string substring just pulls a string out starting at some index into this all the way out to the end. So if the start is say 0, let's put that there and click OK. Now I'm going to click Preview. You can see it gives the entire expression. Let's set the expression and change that the start index to say 3, and click Preview again, and you can see it starts with the third position in the string onwards, and it gets the whole rest of the string. So we want everything in the string. We want just the last letter in the string. So how are we going to get that? We can use the string length function. I just happen to know what that is off the top of my head. String length, and that's going to be name. And I'm going to format this that way so you can see everything. And string length minus 1. What this does is this will take a substring using the string called name, and the index for that is going to be the length of that name string minus 1. So it's going to be everything. So the index is going to start with the last character, and that's the only thing that we're going to see. Click OK and click Preview, and you can see how that just gives us the last character. To see how this works, if we made this minus 2, that would get the last 2 characters. So you can see that adds that, and at expression, click minus 3. That's the last 3 character. Let's make it minus 4. That'll be the last 4 characters in the string. Preview. It's like that. What's really cool is about how transform templates work is that this preview button here is just absolutely spectacular. I mean, it's really cool. It's really wonderful. It's a great way of writing expressions and seeing what they do without actually changing any of the data. So let's put this back to 1 so it just gets that last character. Click Preview, and you can see that expression is what we want to do. So that's the expression we want to use to get just that last character. But we want to put that into rank. We don't want to modify the actual name field. So I'm going to just copy this. I'm going to highlight that and right click and choose copy. So I've copied that now to the Windows clipboard. Okay, and then back up here in the main part of the transform pane, let's click the rank field. And for the rank field, I'm also going to use an expression. I can turn off this preview, hide preview. For the rank field, I also want to use expression. So that expression is going to be something like this. That gets us the last character, but that's now a character. So what I need to do is I need to cast that character using the cast function. If you're familiar with the casts in various programs or anything like that. So I want to cast that last character as an int 32. And so what this does, this says get that last character from that name string, and then cast that, make it a number. Click OK, and now let's preview that, and you can see what it does. Every place where that last character is a number, it does in fact turn it into a number. Places where that last character is not a number, for example, this X character right here, it gives a null, which is okay, because like I say, this database was put together by an enthusiast, and he didn't, particularly, make it totally consistent in all possible ways. So now that we know what the preview looks like, let's actually make that happen. Let's click transform, and so bang, we've just populated that rank field. And by the way, if you're curious as to how that actually worked, while we still have this transform pane loaded up here, we could click the Edit Query button, and what that does is that shows the query that was used to SQL query that actually powered that transform pane activity. Whenever we do something in a transform with say like the the Dolman table here, what we're actually doing, whichever one of those templates we're using, we're launching SQL, and it's a fully parallel SQL. And to see how that works, let's turn this off. Let's just get rid of those. That's just salad dressing, which tells us what it is. You can see, for example, there's a threads system CPU count statement here. That's a manifold SQL statement that says, make this thing parallel, use all CPU cores. And here's what the actual query is. It's an update query where we do the cast and we do all the subsequent selection, and we alias that as rank new, and then after doing this, we update the table by setting rank equal to rank new. This is a good way to see how SQL works. If you want to learn how to do SQL, if you want to customize this to do, change all sorts of other things, you can do that. If we wanted to run this, we could just click that, and bang, that would have the same effect as when we click the transform button here in the transform pane. Okay, so we've now added a rank to the Dolman table, and what we can do is we can that's the table for the Dolman drawing that's used in the map, and now what we can do is we can start styling these points using the let's zoom in here, so we zoom here in for a bit so we see fewer points. We can now use that rank field to style. So for example, one of the first things we can do is let's change the size of points, and the way we'll do that, we'll change it based on the rank field, and let's use 10 breaks. And let's use unique values and tally it, automatically tallied it for us. And what we'll do is we'll go from a size of 1 up here to a size of, let's make it 20. And I'm going to interpolate that automatically instead of manually entering in all those figures. And click Update Style. And now what we've just done is we've sized all the the various Dolman dots, Dolman points by their rank. So the ones with a higher rank, that is a rank of 5, are here at 20 points, and others are smaller points. And if we want to make them even more visually distinctive, what we could do, for example, we could also style the fill color by rank, and also equal intervals with 10 using rank. And let's use the color brewer palette. Off screen, I'm going to pick the spectral palette. So that's the spectral palette. Click Update Style. And now what we've done is the very big ones, the number 5 dolmens, are all shown in blue, and the itty-bitty ones that are just piles of rock are barely visible here as individual little dots or other small symbology. So that's a pretty cool way of taking a look at all these different dolmen, and immediately being able to pick out the big ones that are the more interesting ones. If we wanted to, we could also automatically change the symbology based on the rank field by clicking into here. So for example, we can make the really big ones we can make them squares or stuff like that. I'm not going to bother doing that. I'm just going to leave them as is, and because I think the color and the size is enough differentiation. So this now gives us a chance to immediately take a look at where we might be going in France. For example, if we're visiting the Valley of the Loire, and we're visiting some of the famous chateaux, along the in the Valley of the Valley of the Loire, we can zoom in here and take a look at some of them. For example, here's a big, super famous dolmen that we looked at in the prior video, and to take a look at that, let's add some layers here. Let's add create new data source. Let's add a Bing satellite layer. And we can do is we can drag and drop that satellite image into the map. So now we're looking at this thing using Bing satellite, and that's that big dolmen there. That's what a big dolmen looks like, you know, from above. And let's take a look at actually what the image looks like. Let's zoom out a little bit, go back a couple more steps. Notice I can click forward and backwards in the views, you know, using this toolbar button here. It's just like, you know, working with the browser. So we can kind of click back out here, and let's go to this dolmen right here, which is near Tour. Yeah, that's someone near Tour. And this is the giant dolmen that we have a picture for. So let's zoom into where that is. And here's this giant dolmen that's in the midst of these trees. And that's the one right here. That's the big dolmen picture. That's it right there. Let's shift click the tab to undock it. Resize the undocked image, and I can click here, zoom to fit. So that's what that dolmen looks like inside of this copse of trees. And it looks like when this picture was taken, it was shot from right about here, or right near where that blue dot is, because the big cap rock, the entrance here is to the left, is right there, and this rock here is that smaller cap rock there. You know, smaller, of course, only relative. And what's interesting about this is that let's close this. Right click on the title bar and close. Let's see what Google Maps shows us. So new data source. Let's do it from up here. Create new data source, and I'll choose one of the favorites, Google Maps satellite. That's one of the built-in favorites. And let's drag and drop the Google Maps satellite image in here. One of the nice things that viewer can do is it can very quickly and easily compare lots of different image servers. So for example, this is the display shown by Google Maps satellite image. You can see that it kind of has higher res detail for things like the plowed fields. But if I double click that layer off and compare that to the Bing Street Map layer, we can actually see the dolmen better in Bing. And so what's really cool about Viewer is that it's so easy to add image server layers, and you can choose hundreds of them. You know, so you can always pick the one that looks and works best for you. And you can really see that in another case here. Let's zoom way out. And I'm going to turn off both these layers because the regular street map is faster. Let's go down here to near Saumur, where there's this giant dolmen here by Saumur. And let's turn on Bing Satellite. And what we can do is we can, if you're visiting this dolmen here in Saumur, you can also visit the famous Angevin Fortress here, which is the fortress of Saumur. And that was the fortress that was the inspiration for Disneyland. One of the inspirations for the Disneyland castles. And you can see you get a pretty good view of it right here. It's on a high bluff overlooking the river, and here's the entrance ramp that goes up into the the fortress proper. And if you take a look at that in Google Maps Satellite, you can see Google Maps Satellite has kind of a better image than you get with the Bing Satellite image. Maybe not. Google Maps is sharper, but the Bing Map image is pretty good. And if you want to see what that fortress actually looks like at ground level, let's import some images again. File, import, and let's import Saumur Castle and Chateau Saumur and that guy right there. Let's import that. And now let's pop open some of these to take a look see what it looks like. Here's Saumur Castle. That's a view of the castle. Right click and drag to zoom in. As seen from the river, you can see how it looks over the river. And here's a view of it with some work being done. And I actually took that photo when I was visiting the castle. It's a pretty cool place. And one of the things that we can look at here, if you want to make a comparison, is the famous illustration of the let's double click that to open it. This is the and I'll undock this by shift clicking the title tab. This is the famous illustrated manuscript called the Lettres Recherches de Duc de Berry. I apologize for my French accent. My neighbors in France are terrorized by it, but they get used to it. And this is an illustrated manuscript from the Middle Ages, probably the most beautiful of them all. It's the Very Rich Hours. This is the Book of Hours, a devotional book of the Duc de Berry. And right-click and zoom in, and you can compare the image of Saumur Castle here with the photo in modern times. And you can take a look at, for example, this entry portico right here, where you can see these little turrets and this pointy arch. Here they're the turrets, and there's a semi-pointed arch. And you can see the towers to either side of that entry portico, tower and tower. And you can see that it really hasn't changed all that much in the last, 1,000 years. I guess, no, it's not 1,000 years. I guess the last 800 years or so, 700 or 800 years since this famous miniature was drawn in the illustrated manuscript. Anyway, you can download this project from the Manifold website. You can create maps, and you can go hunting for dolmen on your own and enjoy it. Here we go. All the wonderful dolmen throughout all of France, and including the bigger dots, the big one. As you can see, Viewer is phenomenally powerful. Let's close this. It's not crippleware. It's a fantastically powerful, highly usable software that includes fully parallel SQL, which is pretty darn amazing for free. It's probably the most sophisticated spatial SQL that's out there in terms of the ability to do automatically parallel SQL. Just write it regular SQL and you do it. It is a viewer. It's not an editor, so you can do all this stuff on the fly quickly. You can then create screenshots of this and use those screenshots in your website. If you want to write out these changes and save this as a project, you really need to be using Release 9 because Release 9 is fully read-write. Release 9 is not expensive, so that's easy to use. Anybody can afford it. And then you can export the data as you modify. For example, all these tables, when you create different forms of it, you can export it to whatever is a convenient format, CSV, GPackage, whatever you want. I hope you've enjoyed this quick look at the transforms. We use transforms with expressions. That's a fairly simple way of doing it, but very powerful and very sophisticated, using those SQL functions that Manifold provides. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends about Manifold. Download the free viewer and give us a try at home. And goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.